Hello and welcome back to another video on this article, which we're going to be talking about right now. Is now a good time to buy a house? That's a good question. So we're going to get right into this article and talk about the Fed cuts rates. So the Fed cuts rates. If you have the means now, maybe it's a good time to buy a house. It's a good question. Now the mortgage rates have dropped to 3-year lows, continuing their month-long decline, offering homebuyers a clear window of affordability. Well, affordability is one thing. It's all in perspective. What is affordable nowadays? What are you comparing it to? Look at insurance, look at education, look at food. What is affordability? Look how the housing has gone from 2020 to 2025, the national average of the price of a home, right? So we need to look at all of that. So it's a buyer's market. There are 500,000 more home sellers than buyers, giving home buyers leverage. It sounds like a lot of desperation on the seller side. Obviously there is. In Florida, it's a completely different market compared to the Midwest. We are experiencing something that we haven't seen in a long time in this market, and there is desperation, and the prices have definitely declined by a lot. So it goes on to say that still most consumers are wary due to high house prices, as there's a slow job market and broad economic uncertainty leading to a slow housing market, which is true. It's all tied together, right? So now, however, as they talk about, there's good news for home buyers. Mortgage rates have dropped to 3-year low following a Fed rate cut, helping buyers afford thousands more than they could in May. So from May to September to October, they're just talking about this segment, thousands more. What is thousands more? Over what period of time? What do they mean by thousands more? Over a 30-year mortgage, a 30-year period of time? How is a financing going to help when you cut rates when everything has gone up with inflation and the cost of living? So what is really the affordability? That's how we got to look at that. So again, taking advantage of economic volatility keeps them on the sidelines. So it's no surprise that they are wondering if now is a right time to take the leap. Buyers, is it? Well, that just depends on your own financial situation. I would imagine in this situation, economy, again, there's a lot of job loss on a national level, and I don't really believe what the government's saying. I think we're in a recession, but it has never or not been announced yet. But again, this is where we're going. So they talk about, and this is from Redfin, nationally, now is a good time to buy if you can afford it. Prices keep climbing, but with falling mortgage rates and significantly more inventory, buyers have an upper hand in negotiations. Well, sure, it's all relative to what? Keep climbing. Prices keep climbing. It sounds to me that we're in a bubble. Keep climbing compared to what? Well, let's look at this. Based on data from the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, the average and median U.S. house or home prices significantly increased between 2020 and 2025. The average home price rose from 303,000 in 2020, so 383,000 in 2020 to 512,800 by the second quarter of 2025. So from that period of time, from 2020 to 2025, look at the increase in value, but the wages, the salaries did not go along with that, not by much. COVID obviously contributed a lot to that. Now we're kind of reversing backwards, and people are losing equity, losing value to their home. There was a spike, and now it's kind of reverting, and people are kind of scared because where is it going? Where is the rock bottom in this market? And what I mean by this market, I can only really speak about Florida. So yes, what do buyers need to know about the housing market? Well, it's a lot of speculation, we know that, and the media has played both sides, and there's a lot of confusion with this market. And when to buy, when to sell. Obviously now it's not a good time to sell. It's a buyer's market to some degree. But is the housing still expensive for most people? And the answer is yes, it really is. Look at this, okay? So the median U.S. sale price is $440,000. So $440,000, and it's up by 1.6% from last year. The house prices have posted year-over-year gains for over 2 years and are 28% higher than they were in 2020. And you can see that right over here, what we talked about. So, with that said, where is really the value? Is it going to continue? I think we're in a bubble. What people are buying these homes? Well, it's not first-time home buyers. A lot of these homes are being pushed up in price, and the reason it's gone up 28%, there are a few factors we can talk about: inflation, COVID, and most recently, in the last couple of years, these huge conglomerate companies. Wall Street has been buying a lot of these homes for rentals. There's been a lot of construction, and if they don't sell, they turn into rental properties as well. And again, there's Americans too that are buying these homes as investment second homes that they use maybe for Airbnb rentals. So, that's another reason why that, home prices have been pushed up. I'd like to hear what you have to say about that as well. So, going about mortgage rates continue to fall, and how is that going to really affect the market? Well, as September 17th, the daily average 30-year fixed mortgage rate sits at 6.22%, close to 2-year lows, and another in a line of recent drops. A weak job market and a welcomed Fed rate cut has been the primary drivers behind the improvement, boosting mortgage applications and refinancing. Well, okay, even though that this has been dropped, these rates, is that really going to make a difference? I mean, the article talked about that there's 500,000, there's 500,000 more sellers than buyers. So you got a lot of inventory on a national level. Now, talking about Florida specifically, there is a lot on the market. There's a glutton of condos and houses on the market that are just sitting there, and there's been a lot of price cuts you can see across the board. If you go to Zillow, you can see all of that. So this article continues to talk about how mortgage rates affect housing costs. Yes, they do. Mortgage rates are important for buyers because they directly translate to monthly housing costs. The higher the rate, the more you pay, obviously, every month. If the rates drop, you can save tens of thousands over the lifetime of your mortgage. Well, that's just the numbers, right? And if you look down here, this is based off a 30-year fixed mortgage, assuming you're going to put down 20%, okay, with a median home price of $440,000. So if we go down to this chart, look at this chart. The monthly costs on the bottom here, $2,688 compared to the top of $2,917, the average. So you're saving, a couple $100, maybe $250, $300. Is that really going to make a difference to a buyer having this mortgage when everything else is expensive? Food, education, inflation, just the cost of living. Is that going to really have opened a floodgate of buyers because you dropped this rate by so much that all of a sudden now you're going to have all these buyers coming in that want to get a mortgage and buy a home? I don't think so. We're not there like it used to be. This is a completely different, strange market. This is not going to cause people to buy homes like the politicians and the news is talking about. I very much doubt that. So we need to look at all the factors of what's driving this. Well, you have supply. There's too much supply. There's less demand on the market. The cost of living. Now, as a buyer, you got to ask yourself too, is it better right now in this market, in this economy, to rent compared to having a mortgage? Is the rent going to be lower than your mortgage? Because with a mortgage, you have your taxes, you have your upkeep, plus your mortgage. So, there's all these factors involved. You might want to just wait a little longer. We might not be at rock bottom right now, that's for sure. And this article goes to talk about inflation could rise, which I think it will. I think we're in or heading into a recession. And then, the article talks about how to buy in an uncertain economy. Well, there's really no roadmap. These are just, common sense things that you got to do. Stick with your budget. Negotiate. Be smart about the rates. Yes, you need to be smart about the rates. Shop around with different lenders. See what incentives are being given. Sell before you buy. If you own a home, it's a liability. You need to sell the liability to buy another home. So that's kind of what this article is talking about. But does anyone really know where the housing is going? Well, I do know one thing. By 2026, 2027, it's not going to jump up like it used to in the last couple of years, 28%. I think those days are over. I think it's topped off, and now we're reverting back to pre-COVID. So that's kind of where we're at. Stay tuned to the next article. Thank you for tuning in. Give a thumbs up. They're free. Real estate is not. See you in the next one.